Hello everyone, today I want to talk about one-sitting reads, and they are books that you can pick up and read within the space of a few hours and they're done in their entirety. And I think what makes a good one-sitting read is a book that you can pick up and be interested in for a few hours. You're not going to get bored, you're not going to get overwhelmed or find it too long. I think they're perfect for if you're travelling, you're on a plane or a train and you just want something to switch your brain off to that is going to entertain you for a few hours. So I have 5 here to show you. I'll just get straight into it. First up I have Sophie DeVries, The Library of Unrequited Love. This was originally published in French and it's all about a librarian. It's told from her point of view. She's telling you about the books and the system in which they keep the books. She gets very annoyed about the slightest of things, which is really interesting because she's a very irritable person. And there's a man that comes into the library she doesn't have any relationship with, but in her mind she does. In her mind they're together, she's in love, they're gonna get married and all this, but in real life they don't even say hello to each other and she becomes very uncomfortable around him, and it's very tragic and it is about unrequited love, and it's lovely and sad and a quick interesting little read. Next up I have a children's book, although I don't know if children will really understand it. I feel like it's more a book for adults, and this is The Little Prince by Anton de Saint-Exupéry. This is a French book as well, it's been translated into English. It's got really beautiful drawings and it's about a little prince who lands on a planet and he meets different people of this planet, and they're all people within our society. So you have someone that's very greedy, and then you have someone who works all the time and can't stop working. You have someone who's an alcoholic, and it's about an alien looking at our society and looking at the people within society, and it is fascinating. It makes you think about things that you wouldn't normally think about. Really interesting book, love it. I then have George Orwell's Animal Farm, which I think in this political climate in the UK, this is a very funny book. This feels like our politics, and this is about farm animals. It's all told from their points of view, and they build a government. They said they're going to rule themselves. And the thing with governments is, you know, there's corruption. And that happens very early on, and then injustice, and then certain animals are worth more than others, and certain animals are working all the time and others are just lazing about. And it's about politics but told on a farm, and it is bloody genius, I'll tell you that now. I've done a full review of this book, which I'm going to link down below. I then have The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy and Other Stories by Tim Burton. This has quirky little illustrations from Tim there in it, which is very cool, and this is just a short story collection. If you like Tim Burton, you're gonna like this. If you don't like him, you're not. It's very surreal, it's very quirky, it's very gothic. It's also got a lot of heart and beautifulness within it. It's not all silly, or if those some of them are. I really loved this a lot. I thought the whole thing was going to be really silly and just kind of a joke book, but then there are serious ones within it that make it a really beautiful collection. Love this. And then last but not least I have a novella. This is by Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein, and it's not this big, don't worry, it's only this big. It's a novella, it's 80 pages. Mary Shelley actually wrote this book, which is called Matilda. It's spelled like Mathilda, but I think it said Matilda. She sent this off to her dad, and her dad said he wasn't going to send it back to her. He was going to destroy it. It was terrible. She didn't want it. He didn't want it to be published. He didn't like the subject matter and everything. But this is about a girl who has never known her dad. She then gets reconnected with her dad and falls romantically in love with him, and he falls in love with her. It's incest. But they're not going to do anything. They're not going to act on this. They're both romantically and sexually attracted, and there's a great scene on the hill when she's trying to persuade him into, you know, them being romantically together, and she's saying, I just won't say that I'm your daughter, you didn't raise me, like not everyone knows me around here, what if we make up a lie? And then he's saying to her why they can't do that. This is a really interesting take on people who aren't raised by their parents, and then when they meet their parents, their brain sends off the wrong signals, and this does happen in real life when people are reconnected with birth parents and something in their brain like misses the love, because she feels like she should love her dad even though she hasn't known him, and then this love comes out romantically instead of child and father, because he hasn't been her father and she hasn't been his child. They haven't had that relationship, so they're just meeting as adults. And this is such a fascinating take on that. I cannot praise this little novella enough. It's so good. It is really tragic. When it starts, she's on her deathbed and she's saying to her friend, I've got something to confess about my life. There's something that I have never told anyone, and it's when I met my dad. And you're like, oh my god, Jeremy and it is. Like, imagine being her friend, you'd be like, I'm sorry, what? Okay. So there are my one sitting reads. They are the best ones I feel that I have read. Tell me down below if you have any other one sitting reads that you would recommend. Tell me what you want to see from me, and I'll see you again soon.